Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Commute English Learning Pro.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here.
Today, we are jumping into another deep dive.
Yeah.
And this one is really fascinating. We are looking at a super practical guide for foundation level English.
Yeah, specifically for A1 to A2 learners.
Right. But honestly, even if you are already fluent in English, you should stick around. Because the mission of this deep dive is, well, it's much bigger than just one language.
Exactly. We're really unpacking the psychology of how we build any basic knowledge from scratch. Like, how do you take a massive, scary task and actually make it stick?
Without just completely stressing yourself out, right? I mean, think about it. If you try to sit down and, memorize a dictionary today, your brain will naturally delete almost all of that information by tomorrow morning.
It actively sweeps it away, just clears out the hard drive.
Yeah. But if you spend just 5 minutes looking at a short list of simple words on your lunch break, you actually trigger a survival mechanism in your brain. You trick it into keeping that exact same information forever.
It really highlights a huge disconnect. There's how we think we should learn, and then there's how our brain actually works. We usually think volume equals progress. We try to consume it all at once.
Which usually just leads to a big wave of panic. And then, you quit 2 weeks later.
I've been there.
So looking at our sources today, the most striking thing is that they favor consistency over cramming. The guide argues that the traditional way we learn words is just broken. We default to isolation.
Right, the classic flashcard trap.
Yes, you grab a card, put eat on one side, the translation on the other, and you just drill it over and over.
Which is frankly the worst way to do it. From a brain perspective, an isolated word is just a floating data point. It has no connections.
It's like having a box of puzzle pieces and just expecting them to magically form a picture.
Exactly. Your brain uses pathways to find information. If you just memorize eat in a vacuum, you aren't giving your brain any way to actually find it later.
I like to think of it like a map. It's like memorizing a map by only learning the names of the cities, but you delete all the highways. You know the cities are there somewhere, but you have no idea how to reach them.
That is a perfect analogy, and it's exactly why this guide pushes the scene-binding memory method.
Okay, let's talk about that.
So the core rule is simple. Never learn a word alone. You bind the new word to a very simple sentence. Instead of just eat, you learn, I eat an apple. You build the highway at the exact same time you build the city.
I mean, that makes sense. But I have to push back a little bit. Isn't it just faster to drill single words? I can fly through 50 single-word flashcards in like 3 minutes.
You can, sure,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you won't remember them tomorrow. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at mental energy. Full sentences do take more energy, but the strategy lowers that energy by using categories.
Well, right. The guide specifically groups words into daily seeds, like breakfast. You learn milk, bread, and egg together.
Or school, family, weather, things you see every single day.
Right, because when you're a beginner, your brain is already working so hard, but you already know what breakfast is. You eat it every day.
Exactly. By attaching new English words to very familiar daily scenes, you make it easy. You are just putting new labels on boxes that already exist in your brain.
Which is why the guide says to skip obscure, difficult words completely. Only focus on high-frequency daily words. Pronouns, numbers 1 to 10, basic verbs.
Yeah, if you try to learn a complex word like, say, photosynthesis before you know the word tree, you are just wasting energy.
You're trying to build a roof before you've poured the concrete.
Beautifully said.
Okay, so we've built the highway. But getting the brain to actually maintain that highway so it doesn't get overgrown by Thursday, that's a whole different challenge.
It is, because the adult instinct is to sit down for a massive 1-hour study block. We push through 50 words, and we feel super productive.
It feels like real work. But you're saying neurologically it's a trap,
A huge trap. It leads straight into the forgetting curve.
right? The forgetting curve.
Yeah.
That steep drop-off where we forget almost everything in 24 to 48 hours. Because our brain is basically acting like a ruthless editor, just deleting files to save space.
Precisely. The brain uses a lot of energy. To save energy, it deletes anything that doesn't seem essential for survival. So a 1-hour cram session, the brain sees that as a single, isolated event.
It just dumps it.
Yep. So to fight this, we have to use the spacing effect.
The guide calls this microdosing memory. The sweet spot isn't 50 words, it's just 10 to 15 simple words a day, and you split them into 3 short bursts.
This is the magic formula right here.
Right, 10 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at lunch for a quick review, and 5 minutes before bed. But I have to ask, does 5 minutes actually do anything, or is this just to make us feel better about being lazy?
Oh, it's real. What's fascinating here is the biology. You are mimicking how humans learn survival skills in the wild. Imagine you're walking in the forest and you see a new berry.
Oh yeah, see a berry?
If you see it once, it's just one event. But if you see that exact same berry 3 times in one day, morning, noon, and night, your brain reacts differently.
It spots a pattern.
Yes, the brain says, oh, this keeps appearing. This must be essential for my survival. I need to save this in my long-term memory.
Wow. So frequent short exposures basically bypass the brain's spam filter.
Exactly. It's not about how much total time you spend. It's about how often you send the signal.
You're tricking your own survival mechanics. And that 5 minutes before bed is super important too, right? Because sleep is when the brain actually saves those files.
Sleep is when the physical changes in the brain happen. You are basically queuing up the files for the brain to process while you rest.
And this ties into the circular review method. You review today's words before bed, but then you review them again the next morning before starting any new words.
It builds a continuous overlapping chain.
Plus, there is a master review every Sunday night, like a diagnostic check.
Right. That Sunday review catches your weak spots. You walk the old roads to find the potholes before you pave new ones. If you don't fix the foundation, the whole house falls down.
Okay, so the foundation is built, the brain has saved the data. But knowing a word inside your head and actually saying it out loud in real life, those are two completely different things.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I can read a paragraph in a foreign language pretty well, but if I try to order a coffee, my brain just freezes. How do we fix that?
Well, we have to move from passive memory to active usage. When you read silently, you only use visual memory. But speaking is physical.
Right, you're using muscles. It's like the difference between reading a book on how to swim and actually jumping into the pool.
That's exactly it. Your physical machinery hasn't practiced the movements yet, so the guide uses a multisensory approach. First, you listen and read aloud.
You don't just look at the text.
No. You find a standard American pronunciation, listen to the sounds, and physically mimic it out loud. If the word is cat, you hear the sound, and you force your mouth to make that exact sound.
You use your jaw, your tongue, your ears, and your eyes all at the same time.
Yes. It creates motor memory. It completely solves that annoying problem of, I know what it means, but I can't say it. You are practicing the physical action of the word.
Like, try it right now. Say it with us. Table.
Table. Practice one more time. Table.
See? It feels different when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the life application method. You project this into your real world. The guide says you should physically point to objects in your house and say their English names out loud.
Point at a table, say table, look at a phone, say phone.
I mean, I'll be honest, walking around my kitchen shouting at my furniture sounds a bit embarrassing. Why do I have to do that?
Because your native language has a total monopoly on your brain right now. When you look at a table, your brain automatically fires the native word. You don't even think about it.
It's just a reflex at this point.
Right. To learn English, you have to consciously break that automatic reflex. When you point at the table and speak the English word out loud, you force a new connection to form in the real world.
You're breaking the monopoly. You make the brain associate the sound with the physical wood and metal in front of you, not just a flashcard.
And you combine this with internal thoughts. The guide suggests thinking simple phrases like, good morning, or I am happy in English as you go about your day.
It makes English a living tool, not just a desk exercise. It attacks that mental translation lag we all hate.
You know that 2-second delay where you translate everything back and forth in your head?
Yeah, exactly. By pointing directly at the object, you cut out the middleman entirely.
You're building a habit of thinking in English.
Okay, so we've mapped the pathways, we've done our microdosing, and we've broken the native language monopoly. But the ultimate test is output, writing, putting these words into our own original thoughts.
And this is where our adult ego ruins everything.
Really? How so?
Well, as adults, we are used to expressing really complex, dink thoughts in our native language. We have huge vocabularies. When we try to write in English, we instinctively try to be just as complex. We want to sound smart.
But we only have an A1 toolkit. We're trying to build a giant castle, but we only have a plastic hammer and 3 nails.
Which leads to huge frustration and terrible grammar. The adult ego hates sounding simple, but this strategy demands that we completely drop complex sentences. It's called output over perfection.
You have to stick to subject, verb, object, SVO, like I like apples, or She goes to school.
You just have to swallow your pride. You have to be okay with sounding like a 5-year-old for a little while.
It's the only way to learn the basics without getting overloaded. You just need 4 solid walls and a roof.
Exactly. And there's a strict rule here called word never leaves the sentence. When you write about your day or your family, you are not allowed to look up new words in a dictionary.
Oh, wow. So you can only use the simple words you already know.
It's a creative constraint. Think of a painter who only has 3 colors. Limiting the palette forces you to master the brushstrokes. If you only know family and happy, you write, "My family is happy."
You strengthen the foundation instead of constantly stretching into unknown territory.
Yes. And to keep it solid, the guide gives you just 3 core grammar rules. Nothing else. First, subject-verb agreement. Just knowing that he, she, or it gets an S like he plays football.
Simple enough. Second rule. Complete sentences. Every sentence must have a subject and a verb. You can't just write eat apple. You must write I eat an apple.
Those 2 rules alone fix almost all beginner mistakes.
But the third rule, this is where the psychology gets really brilliant. The third rule is correct spelling. But the way they approach it is totally different. If you don't know how to spell a big word like delicious, the rule is not to look it up.
Right.
The rule is just to substitute it with the word good.
That is probably the most important mental shift in the whole process.
So why is giving up on the word delicious actually a win?
Because it redefines success. The goal right now isn't to write a beautiful poem. The goal is communication. This apple is good works perfectly. By focusing on simple accuracy instead of complex perfection, you remove the fear of failure.
If you just use the simple tools, it's almost impossible to fail.
Exactly. And removing that fear builds confidence. Confidence is what stops beginners from quitting. The complexity will come naturally later. But if you demand complexity on day 1, you kill the confidence, and the learning stops.
That completely dismantles that wave of panic we talked about earlier. When you put all this together, it's clear that mastering a foundation isn't about brute force. It's not staring at flashcards until your eyes hurt.
No, it's about working with your brain's natural filing system instead of fighting it.
Giving words context, spacing out the practice so the brain thinks it's essential for survival, using your physical senses, and maybe most importantly, letting go of the ego that demands instant perfection.
You know, this brings up a really fascinating, broader point. Think about that advice to use the word good if you can't spell delicious. It is a profound lesson in resourcefulness.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. Like, how much of fluency in anything, not just language, is really just about resourcefulness?
Exactly. We always assume that being an expert means having a massive database of knowledge. But often, the best communicators or coders or whatever are just highly resourceful with a few basic tools.
They know exactly how to maximize their foundation.
It asks a really direct question of the listener. Are you stuck right now because you're trying to execute a perfect, complex solution? Or are you moving forward because you know how to use the simple tools you already have?
It's the difference between hoarding a giant collection of tools and actually knowing how to swing the hammer you hold in your hand right now.
Precisely.
That is a perfect thought to leave on. Take a look at your own learning habits today. Are you trying to swallow the entire dictionary, or are you just trying to build one reliable road?
Thanks for listening, everyone.
If you like our channel, please like and subscribe. It helps us a lot.